ये क्या हूँ? अरे
Number 1, Chapter 1, Transmigration or Reincarnation. Chapter 1, Time Travel or Reincarnation, open black lens bracket, brain storage, close black lens bracket. In a state of chaotic darkness, a beam of light suddenly flickered, and one could even feel a thrust pushing towards the light. After a while, Li Yang felt someone slapping his bottom half. Who has such a lack of boundaries, hitting my butt while I'm sleeping? Li Yang struggled with all his might to open his eyes, only to see a black woman's face, breathing hot air and smiling at him. Li Yang was startled and burst into loud crying on the spot. Nonsense, who wouldn't be startled if they opened their eyes to see such a large black face smiling at them? Wait, where am I? Shouldn't I be? Shouldn't I be? What was I doing? I forgot. Li Yang frowned, knowing this matter wasn't simple, and fell asleep while thinking about it. Mia, you've worked hard. A Chinese man gently kissed the forehead of the white woman lying on the hospital bed. Let me see where my little love rival is. Mia smiled and pointed to the small bed on the side. You'd better not touch him, his crying is quite noisy. The Chinese man nodded, looking at his adorable son in the crib, and couldn't help but gently stroke his son's forehead. That's how men are. If you don't let them touch, they insist on touching, but if you let them, they stop after a while. Li Yang was sleeping soundly when he suddenly felt someone stroking his forehead, feeling quite uncomfortable inside. Is it impossible for a person to sleep now? Last time I fell asleep, I was woken up by a slap on the butt, and this time I am woken up by someone stroking my head. There's just no sense of boundaries. Li Yang opened his eyes, intending to curse, but saw a man grinning from ear to ear, poking his cheeks with his fingers while muttering something. Goo goo, gaga, so cute, come on, call me daddy. Li Yang looked at him as if he were an idiot, planning to raise his right hand and give him the middle finger. But halfway through, he realized, why are my hands so small? Looking at his left hand, Li Yang's mood sank. It's over, I've become a baby. Li Yang had already cursed 1080 profanities, but in the eyes of others, little Li Yang was just babbling. The Chinese man had already picked up little Li Yang. Mia, look, our son is babbling even though he's so small. He'll definitely be a chatterbox in the future. Mia looked at the Chinese man with annoyance. Give the baby to me, he must be hungry, Li thought. Li Yang had accepted reality, or perhaps he had no choice but to accept it. He looked at the woman lying on the hospital bed. Hey, my mom is actually quite pretty. Seeing Mia lift her clothes to breastfeed, Li Yang looked at his so-called father, raised an eyebrow, and latched on to enjoy his liquid meal. Soon, he burped and continued to sleep soundly. The next day, when little Li Yang opened his eyes, he was in a new environment, lying in his crib at home. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw red walls covered with an Arsenal logo. Even the crib was red and plastered with Arsenal stickers. There was a poster of Ian Wright on the wall, and he knew his chief dad was an Arsenal fan. A little while later, little Li Yang heard a commotion outside. A family came into this red-filled room. Seeing two middle-aged people kissing, hugging, and touching him, he knew they must be his grandparents. There was also a young man wearing a Tottenham jersey, who must be his uncle. Good grief, in a family full of Arsenal elements, this uncle actually dares to wear a Tottenham jersey with Sheringham's name on the back. Isn't this just provoking them in their own home? Li Yang looked at his chief dad and didn't sense any emotional change, until his brother-in-law pulled an infant-sized Tottenham jersey out of a paper bag, and his chief dad's face turned green instantly. Take it away, take it away. My son won't wear a Tottenham jersey. You rascal, you are provoking me again, Li Tot said to his brother-in-law, pretending to be angry. HMPH, our whole family are Tottenham fans. I don't know why my sister would like an Arsenal person like you. That's because your sister knows who the righteous side is. Come on, turn on your FIFA 95. Wait until I use my Tottenham Sheringham to crush you. Oh, you're there to provoke me. Haven't seen my Ian Wright, have you? See if I don't destroy you. The chief dad and his brother-in-law left the room while bickering. Sheringham, Ian Wright. Is it 1995 now? Did I time travel? Other people time travel and become 17-year-old Chinese football prodigies, and they have systems. I just became a baby. Where is the system? Where is the system? Li Yang waited for a long time but didn't hear the so-called systems, feeling very disappointed. Right now, he couldn't take care of his own bodily functions and still had to drink milk. As a 35-year-old in his previous life, he felt extremely ashamed every time his diaper was changed. He hoped he would get used to it later, but why did he remember his past life? Did he forget to drink mango soup when he was reincarnated? So, did I time travel or was I reincarnated? If it's time travel, why travel into a baby? If it's reincarnation, why be reincarnated in the UK? Does the Bridge of Helplessness have a UK branch? Did I go the wrong way or what? Before he could think for long, he smelled a foul odor from his lower body. This is too frustrating, too humiliating. He couldn't help but think about it, and once he did, he burst into tears. Seeing little Li Yang's emotional change in smelling the poop, Mia shouted at the door. Li Todd, your son has pooped, bring a diaper. Afterward, the whole family watched Li Todd change little Li Yang's diaper. The jerk of a brother-in-law even took out a film camera and used the flash to take a picture of his butt covered in poop, making little Li Yang cry even harder. To standardize the names in this novel, Li Yang's English name is Leon, his
Chapter 2
Quote. WT. Number 2 Chapter 2. A child's destiny is set at age 3 and at age 80. Chapter 2. 3 years old determines 80. Time flew by. Little Lee Young reached the age of 3. He gradually adapted to his body and slowly understood his family's situation. For example, they lived at 38 Combe Martin Road in the Wandsworth district, in the southwest of London. It was a classic, affluent white neighborhood. The two-story house was built on a small slope. His cheapskate dad was a sociology professor at the University of Roehampton, grade 8, with an annual salary of £67,000, very high. Mother Mia had once been a track athlete. Later, after a ligament injury, she planned to go to the University of Roehampton Sports and Exercise Science building for rehabilitation. She met this cheapskate dad on a slippery path, and after that, they met every few days. I don't know what kind of love-struck brain mother had. She retired immediately after finishing her rehabilitation. What a harmful dad. I heard the maternal grandfather was very angry at the time and demanded that Lee Todd come to the house to meet him, intending to give him a good scolding. But when he found out about the dad's annual salary, his expression changed immediately, becoming all smiles. That day, the two of them drank whiskey and eventually ended up with their arms around each other, both drunk. Grandpa used to be in the timber business. Later, when it got big, he sold it. I heard he sold it for quite a lot of money. Later, he bought numbers 36, 37, and 38 on Combe Martin Road in the Wandsworth district. Number 36 was rented out. The family lived in 37, and he sold 38 cheaply to Lee Todd, so basically, the whole family were neighbors. Lee Young had originally thought this cheapskate dad was a British Chinese person, until one day, Lee Young overheard Lee Todd talking to someone on a long-distance call in Cantonese and realized his dad was from Guangzhou, China, a pure Chinese person. Lee Young rummaged around the house and found a first-class honors bachelor's degree from the University of Hong Kong. It seems his dad worked quite hard back then. Every morning, Dad now drives a red MG car, first taking little Lee Young to kindergarten before going to the university. This kindergarten is quite good. It has a small 5-a-side soccer field. Besides some small extracurriculars, little Lee Young watches a bunch of brats chasing the soccer ball every day, while he practices juggling and passing against the wall on the side. At first, the kindergarten teacher, Mary, thought little Lee Young couldn't integrate into the group of kids because of his skin color. Later, she thought about it and realized that wasn't right. Those 3 black kids were also in there chasing the soccer ball. Later, she forced little Lee Young to play a game with them and discovered that little Lee Young wasn't on the same level as them. It turned into a bunch of kids chasing little Lee Young, and little Lee Young kept dribbling and weaving through them. Just kidding, I used to play in the Chinese Super League, okay. Although it wasn't anything special, it still counted as professional. Now, playing soccer with a bunch of 3-year-olds, I have to act like I'm losing the ball, otherwise these adults will think I'm Maradona. Later, teacher Mary told Mother Mia about little Lee Young's extraordinary soccer talent and suggested she take little Lee Young to try out at a small club nearby. Mia returned home and told the whole family about this. Anyway, the whole family didn't believe it. The next day, they sneaked to the kindergarten, peeked over the wall, and secretly watched little Lee Young play soccer. Teacher Mary once again forced little Lee Young to play a game with a bunch of brats. It was all sorts of dribbling and weaving, and he even performed a flip-flap dribble to shoot. If his legs weren't too short to step over the ball, little Lee Young would have wanted to step over them all and destroy their fragile hearts. The whole family was stunned. The soccer talent wasn't just extraordinary, it was at a genius level. Grandpa said, I haven't seen 18-year-old Maradona, but I just saw 3-year-old Maradona. Soon, on a certain Saturday, the whole family drove little Lee Young to the soccer training base near their home, Wandsworth Lions FC. This club was quite interesting. Unlike the kick-and-rush soccer of the British Empire, their motto was brave ball control, emphasizing footwork and passing. When the coach saw little Lee Young, he thought the child was too small and assigned him to the Little Bears, 3 to 5 years old. This caused Grandpa's dissatisfaction. What can they practice in the Little Bears? My grandson can dribble past them all right now. Hearing Grandpa's boasting, the coach could only reply, right. But after a while, when the coach saw little Lee Young's performance in the Little Bears, he pointed at little Lee Young and said to Grandpa, what am I seeing? Your child is a genius. Without a word, he took little Lee Young's hand to the Lion Cubs, 4 to 5 years old, and let him play. Little Lee Young's family was watching the brats on the field from the sidelines and was especially happy. Finally, it wasn't just a bunch of brats chasing the soccer ball, but organized ball control. The coach squatted down and asked little Lee Young, what position do you want to play? Little Lee Young said without hesitation, midfield. The coach took a yellow training vest from the sidelines, put it on little Lee Young, and gently patted his back. Go on, go to the yellow B team, they are 1% short right now. Little Lee Young ran onto the field full of confidence. Come on, my first trial. Soon, the soccer ball reached little Lee Young's feet. A blue team boy immediately rushed up, ready to intercept. Little Lee Young gently nudged it to the left with his right foot, dribbling past the blue team boy. Seeing the black kid in the yellow shirt on the left in open space, he passed the ball slightly ahead of the black kid, letting him receive it comfortably. Unfortunately, the black kid didn't handle the ball well the first time, couldn't catch up, and it went out of bounds. Oops, I overestimated the black kid's speed. The black kid turned around, gave a thumbs up to little Lee Young, and kept saying, good. The thumbs up, brother. A while later, little Lee Young intercepted a ball from a blue team girl in midfield, but didn't pass immediately. Instead, he cut to the left and dribbled past the blue team boy again. He looked at the black kid, but saw a defender following him. The black kid was quite smart, pulling the defender to the side, which would leave a gap in the middle. Soon, little Lee Young saw a girl with a ponytail wearing a yellow vest running forward in the middle. He didn't hesitate and gave the girl a through pass. Just like last time, it was slightly ahead of the girl to let her receive it comfortably. The girl caught up to the soccer ball and didn't plan to control it, but shot directly. Of course, kids in this age group will score if they shoot. Seeing the ball go in, the girl turned and ran towards little Lee Young. Lee Young watched the girl's ponytail swing left and right and couldn't help but sigh at how cute she was. The girl was almost a head taller than Lee Young. She hugged little Lee Young with a face full of smiles and gently kissed him on his left cheek, preparing to kick off again. Lee Young shamelessly pointed to his right cheek. There's still the right cheek. The girl had no choice but to kiss him on his right cheek again. The whole family saw the scene from the sidelines. Grandpa said to the whole family, he has my style from back then. Father Lee Todd also nodded slightly and thought to himself that pass was really good. Only Mother Mia frowned, looking at little Liang, feeling something was off. After about 15 minutes, the score was already 3-7. The coach blew the whistle, letting the children rest for 5 minutes before doing passing training. All the girls who received assists from little Liang surrounded him and kissed his face frantically. The whole family saw the scene from the sidelines again. Grandpa said to the whole family, I wasn't as good as him back then. Father Lee Todd also nodded slightly and thought to himself, little Liang must go to Arsenal in the future. Only Mother Mia frowned, looking at Lee Todd with a dark face. Little Liang is a playboy. Remember there's a saying in China, 3 years old determines 80. Lee Todd shook his head frantically and didn't admit it. Mia looked at the sidelines again. Those little girls were still kissing little Liang. It wasn't even kissing anymore, it was sucking. The head coach of the Lion Cubs, blue team, William Carvalho, came to the sidelines with a smile and said to Liang's family, this child is really very good. Let him come to train every day after school. There will be many scouts watching the matches on weekends, but I really don't know why he only passes to girls. Mia was happy when she heard the first half, but her face turned dark when she heard the second half. What exactly have I given birth to? Problematic ad. Report. Quote. Ang had already been training and competing with the Number 3 Chapter 3 I want to learn Mandarin too. Chapter 3 I want to learn Mandarin too. As spring came and autumn went, time flew by. Little Liang had already been training and competing with the Wandsworth Lions for 2 years. These U5 training sessions truly opened the eyes of Liang, who possessed many years of football experience from his past life. For example, on a 5-way side half pitch, over a dozen children would dribble with the ball. When they heard the coach's whistle, everyone would swap footballs. It went from being chaotic on the pitch at first to the children beginning to make eye contact, understanding each other, and eventually becoming orderly. Even in the U5 training, there was a half-pitch 5v5 plus 1 possession drill. The +1 was a free player role established near the halfway line. The team in possession had to make 10 passes before passing to the free player, and then proceed to the other half to continue passing. Every weekend, the Wandsworth Lions would play matches against U5 teams from different regions, 5A side. Although they had wins and losses, Little Liang's performance received unanimous praise from coaches and scouts. Once, when the Wandsworth Lions were playing against WMF Kingston, there was a blonde boy with a slick back hairstyle who kept dribbling forward in attack. Little Liang, of course, wouldn't let him have his way. After intercepting the ball, he kept passing and moving with his teammates, running the blonde boy ragged until he couldn't run anymore. Under Little Liang's control, they quickly won the match by a large margin. It showed the parents from the Kingston district a different philosophy of youth football training. After a while, the blonde boy brought his parents over to Little Liang and his parents. The parents exchanged pleasantries and complimented each other's children, while Little Liang started chatting with the blonde boy. What's your name? You play really well. You too, you're amazing. By the way, my name is Jack Grealish, just call me Jack. How about you? Little Liang was startled upon hearing the name and thought to himself, you're the famous English party boy. Just call me Liang. You are definitely going to be something special in the future. It's a pity we live so far apart, otherwise I'd definitely come find you to play football every day. We'll definitely have the chance to meet again in the future, don't worry. Little Liang then saw both sets of parents exchange phone numbers, confident that the two mothers would be talking at length about parenting tips over the phone. As expected of the social striker, mocked by everyone in the future, he says nice things as soon as he opens his mouth. After 2 years of matches, Little Liang had actually received many U5 invitations from clubs, such as Crystal Palace, Southampton, Fulham, and even an invitation from Tottenham's U5. His brother-in-law was overjoyed when he heard this news and would come to the house every day while his father was at work to persuade Little Liang to sign the contract. But Little Liang would always use his father as an excuse, saying things like if he signed, his dad would kill him, to brush him off. This made the brother-in-law even more annoyed with his father. 5-year-old Liang was getting ready for primary school, Y1. His mother had arranged for him to attend a good primary school near their home, Florid Wandsworth Primary School. After looking at the curriculum, Little Liang discovered that there was actually an hour and a half of various sports classes every day, football, gymnastics, basketball, tennis, and so on, which left him very satisfied. Since classes didn't start until September, Lee Todd and Mia planned to take Little Liang back to China to visit his grandparents. This plan made Liang especially excited. I'm back. I'm finally coming back. After more than 10 hours on the plane, it finally landed at Hong Kong's new airport. Liang looked at Lee Todd with a confused expression. Wasn't it agreed they were going back to Guangzhou? Why did they arrive in Hong Kong? It turned out that the cheapskate father had accepted an invitation from a Hong Kong university to give a lecture and had even earned some travel expenses. HMPH. I thought Dad was so filial, but it turns out he's here to make money and just visit the grandparents on the side. But the itinerary was indeed nice. Lee Todd took his wife and son to tour Victoria Peak, see the night view of Hong Kong, and spent a day playing at Ocean Park. Moreover, they ate lots of delicious food every day, typhoon shelter crab, ahiat abalone, kauki beef brisket, yunki roast ghouls, fong winky satay hot pot, and so on. These foods were things they couldn't get in England, causing Mother Mia to gain 5 pounds in 3 days. Lee Todd also took them to watch the movie, Needing You. It was unclear whether Mia could understand it, but during the scene where Andy Lau was eating bullwhip noodles, Lee Todd was swallowing his saliva greedily, while Mia was grimacing. Does Dad like eating bullwhip? Liang thought to himself. When he made money in the future, he would buy bullwhip for his dad, buy it by the ton. Anyway, nobody in England ate it, they just threw it away as trash. Lee Todd also bought Little Liang a Sony MP3 player, which made him happy for a while. Back at the hotel, he immediately downloaded the song, Darkness, by newcomer Stephanie Sun, as well as songs by Nicholas Say, who had just debuted in Hong Kong. At that time, everything in China was booming, IT and such were just starting out. The important thing was that there was no common area allocation back then. Because of Lao, therefore Lao, tenderness cannot withstand arrangements tilde. CD shops all over the streets and alleys of Guangzhou were playing this Nicholas Say song, and even Lee Todd would hum a few bars. Sometimes he would even dance cheekily and sing to Mia, just for a word from you, my whole body sways, making Mia laugh out loud. They soon arrived at the grandparents' residential compound. The two elderly people were still standing quietly at the entrance waiting for them. It wasn't until they saw the figure of Lee Todd in the distance with two foreigners that their faces blossomed with smiles. Lee Young was not unfamiliar with them, as they had visited England twice to see them. Although possessing memories from his past life gave Lee Young a sense of maturity different from other children, over these 5 years, he had been able to fully feel the love of this family and had completely integrated into it, though sometimes he still needed to act like a child. It's time for my performance. Little Lee Young opened his small hands and ran towards his grandparents, shouting, Grandpa. Grandma. Little Lee Young, speaking with not quite perfect Cantonese, hugged Grandma's leg and then hugged Grandpa's leg. Grandpa took the opportunity to pick up Little Lee Young. Oh my, Little Lee Young has grown up, Grandpa said, looking at Little Lee Young happily. Little Lee Young obediently kissed Grandpa and Grandma on their cheeks, making the two elderly people so happy they were almost flying. Why play football? I should have applied to the acting department. At home, the two elderly people were preparing meals in the kitchen. Mia came to the kitchen and asked, Dad, Mom, do you need my help? This was the first time Lee Young had heard Mia speak Mandarin, which gave him a start. He turned his head and asked, Mom, why do you speak Mandarin? Before his mother could answer, his father opened his mouth. That's because your mom learned the wrong language when she was chasing me, haha. Lee Todd looked proud. Fuck you, Mom didn't say these words out loud, she just mouthed them. Lee Young was even more curious. After pressing his father, he learned that when they were dating, Mia originally wanted to give Lee Todd a surprise, so she went to school to learn China's official language. She had no idea that China had so many languages and dialects. Later, during a dinner date, Mia suddenly said, I love you too, in Chinese to Lee Todd. That was when his dad realized that Mia had been learning Mandarin behind his back for so long, which moved him for a long time. Lee Young suddenly had an idea and said to his father, I want to learn Mandarin too. Lee Todd was excited for a moment. Alright, when we get back to England, I'll find an international student to teach you. In fact, Lee Young already knew Mandarin himself, but he couldn't say it out loud because the home environment was Cantonese and English. If he suddenly blurted out Mandarin, it wouldn't be a surprise, it would be a shock. So he had to find an opportunity to accomplish this. Come, let's eat first. Grandpa and Grandma brought 7 or 8 delicious dishes to the dining table, inviting everyone to eat and drink. This was a short but very beautiful time. Problematic ad. Reported here. This reader is deprecated. Please use the intro. Quote. Chapter 4. Is he really 8 years old? Pass. Receive. Dribble past the poles. Shoot. Beautiful. Head up. Head up. Don't look at the ball. Head up. The head coach of the Wandsworth Lions, William, shouted loudly. Lee Young, who had already reached a height of 1.4 meters, was panting on the field. He had performed this training nearly 200 times today and was indeed feeling a little tired. William came to Lee Young's side, patted him on the back, and told him to come see him in his office after taking a shower. When Lee Young arrived at the office, besides William and his parents, there were 7 strangers looking at him. The small office felt very crowded. After Lee Young sat down, head coach William explained to him. Little Lee Young, you are already 8 years old. Our small club is actually no longer suitable for your training, so these people are all youth academy directors from major clubs. And this gentleman is Howard Wilkinson from the FA's Youth Development Program. Wilkinson. Isn't that the former Shenhua head coach? Why is he here? Lee Young couldn't help but wonder. Howard Wilkinson looked at Lee Young and the others with a smile and said, Shall I start? Everyone nodded. Howard Wilkinson took a stack of proposals out of his briefcase and distributed them to everyone present. Lee Young looked in surprise at the title on the proposal, Elite Player Performance Plan. Isn't this something that only appears in 2011? Did my appearance change the timeline? This plan was very famous in his past life, commonly known as the EPPP plan, or the E3P plan. This youth development plan brought about 4 major policies. The first was that all youth academies and clubs in England could freely recruit football talents and young players from across the country, thus opening up upward channels for grassroots young players. Second, the FA would provide subsidies for the transfer fees of young players across all youth academies and clubs in the country, so that a single wrong decision by a young player wouldn't cause them to miss their best training opportunities. Lee Young knew how important this policy was, how many teenagers held football dreams and signed contracts with small clubs until they were 18. And those children who gained the favor of big clubs would, because of their contracts, demand exorbitant prices from the big clubs. The lowest one would cost at least £80,000. A neighbor on the street next to Lee Young's was a good example. At 10 years old, he was scouted by the Crystal Palace Youth Academy, but because he had signed a contract with a training camp, they demanded £270,000. Even if Crystal Palace had plenty of money, they wouldn't pay £270,000 for a 10-year-old child. Now that he is 16, his physical fitness and technique have fallen behind, and he can only go to the park to play pickup games and bully amateurs. Third, the FA would organize a large number of matches, allowing young talents to grow through practical experience. This plan divided England's youth development into 3 stages, U9 U11, U12 U16, and U17 U23, organizing reserve leagues, Professional Development League 2, U18 Premier League International Cup, U18 Professional Development League 2, and the Premier League Cup for young players. Anyway, no matter what age you are, there is a league to play in, with over 6,000 matches every year. It allows these young footballers to get plenty of growth. It feels like every young footballer gets training, but the elimination rate is extremely high. 17 is the biggest watershed. Before that, the elimination rate reaches 97%, and after 17, when they can sign professional contracts, another 70% are eliminated. Therefore, in 2021, the Premier League conducted an investigation and a comprehensive review of the youth training system, because Jeremy Whiston was released by Manchester City, fell into severe depression, and subsequently committed suicide. This is just one common case, but it shows how shocking this elimination rate is. Fourth, it involved investing £320 million to build the St. Georges Park National Football Centre training base and continuously purchasing and updating top-tier training equipment, benchmarking against the Clairefontaine National Football Institute in France. But this plan was actually brought forward by 8 years, which was something Lee Young never expected. Listening to Howard Wilkinson's explanation, he realized this was a tentative preliminary plan. Simply put, it was to first find a group of young players to serve as test subjects, and then roll it out completely once results were achieved. To show sincerity, he brought 6 youth academy directors from Premier League clubs willing to cooperate with the project, including Arsenal, Aston Villa, Chelsea, Fulham, Crystal Palace, and Tottenham. These clubs were all very sincere about signing Lee Young, and basically everyone who was collaborating had come. Little Lee Young looked at Howard Wilkinson and asked, "Can I know the list of selected players?" Wilkinson nodded, took 3 pages of paper out of his briefcase, and handed them to Little Lee Young. After taking them, Little Lee Young read through them very seriously. Douglas Wright, don't know him. Reece Mitchell, don't know him. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, I know this one. After looking for a while longer, he saw, he's really on it, Jack Grealish. There was also one he hadn't met, Luke Shaw. I am willing to participate in this plan, but as for which club to join, I need to discuss it with my parents. He then looked at the youth academy director of Aston Villa. I'm very sorry, Mr. Jones. I'm very sorry, Mr. Jones. Birmingham is really too far from London. This distance would cause my parents a lot of distress, and I would often miss them too, so I won't consider Aston Villa for the time being. I apologize for your long journey. Little Lee Young apologized to Mr. Jones with a serious face. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Is there something an 8-year-old can say? He's too mature. They looked at Lee Young's parents again. There was no change on their faces, just a business-like smile. Indeed, both of them were used to Little Lee Young's maturity. Except for when he was a newborn and would cry when his diaper was changed, they hadn't seen him cry since. He ate when it was time to eat, drank milk when it was time to drink milk. There was no throwing tantrums or making scenes. Even if he fell flat on his face while running, he wouldn't cry, he would just pat himself off and get up. Although the couple initially felt this wasn't good, as they exchanged parenting experiences with other parents, they discovered that their child was just too easy to take care of. There was none of that messy stuff, like smearing feces on the walls. But it was different for those youth academy directors. They had seen thousands of children, and not a single 8-year-old spoke like this, which made them even more curious. Little Lee Young spoke again. Thank you all for this opportunity, but I need to discuss this opportunity with my family. I will give you an answer in a week. Thank you all. Top-tier emotional intelligence. This was the first impression the youth academy directors had of Little Lee Young's personality. The directors from London felt even more strongly that they had to have this child. After finishing, Little Lee Young hugged Coach William, said goodbye to everyone, and went home with his parents. Quote, 1%. Number 5, Chapter 5, Nelbas. When the family returned home, the grandparents and the brother-in-law were all asking about the results. Upon learning that Little Lee Young had not made a choice yet, they were very happy, because it meant that Little Lee Young was likely to choose the club they supported. Actually, this also started to make Little Lee Young feel conflicted. First of all, he definitely wouldn't choose Fulham or Crystal Palace. The reason was simple, they were poor, and their youth academies hadn't produced any good players. As for Arsenal, Chelsea, and Tottenham, they were indeed giving Little Lee Young a headache. Watching his father and brother-in-law bickering between choosing Arsenal or Tottenham made Lee Young feel annoyed, and since he had just finished training today, he went to the fridge, grabbed a bottle of milk, downed it, and went to his room to sleep. The family stared at each other in confusion, wondering, he's just going to sleep like this. How can he even sleep after something like this? Mother Mia went upstairs on tiptoes, gently opened Little Lee Young's door, and seeing him breathing evenly as he slept, she gently brushed the hair from his forehead with her left hand, kissed his forehead, whispered goodnight in his ear, and left. In reality, Lee Young couldn't sleep at all. He was just pretending to be calm, as it was indeed hard not to think about this matter. On the other side, Mia also knew that Little Lee Young was pretending to sleep. She knew her own child and wouldn't put any pressure on him, giving him 100% support for whatever choice he made. After Mia went downstairs, she saw Lee Todd and the brother-in-law still arguing with the grandfather about the choice, and her anger flared up instantly. Shut your mouths. Get out. It's not you who are going to the club to train. None of you have the qualifications to choose for Lee Young, including me. You all know his personality very well, and I believe my child can make the best choice for himself. Go do whatever you need to do. The so-called Mother Tiger was showing her power, and no one dared to say another word, so they all left one after another. Now only the poor wretch Lee Todd was left facing the Mother Tiger. Honey, shut up, go take a shower and go to bed. If you dare to put even the slightest bit of pressure on Lee Young, you will be sleeping on the sofa from now on. Mia made a gesture in front of her eyes that all Korean men hate. Lee Todd, being a smart man, knew that this was the time to shut up. Lee Young actually heard everything clearly from upstairs. His mother had stood up for him today to block out too much noise, allowing him to simply make his own choice, which moved him deeply. Not long after, Mia came to Lee Young's room, hugged Little Lee Young on the bed, and said softly, "All right, it's okay, don't pay attention to them." Little Lee Young fell asleep very peacefully in Mia's embrace. The next day, Little Lee Young's life was no different than usual. He ate a loving sandwich, drank a glass of milk, and happily went to school, went to the club to train after school, and practiced juggling in the backyard when he got home. Actually, in U8 training, there are requirements for juggling, but it's not about how many you can do, but that your juggling cannot be higher than your own head, which effectively trains your ball feel and control over the force of your touch. Little Lee Young increased the difficulty for himself. All his juggling could not be higher than his waist. Until the 4th day, when Little Lee Young came home from training, he saw an uncle sitting at the dining table. Little Lee Young knew exactly who he was, having seen him in the office a few days ago, Neil Bath, the youth director of Chelsea. Mother Mia saw Little Lee Young return and said, "He says he wants to chat with you, are you interested in listening?" Lee Young shook hands with Neil Bath. "Hello, Mr. Bath, I hope my parents can listen in, is that okay?" Neil Bath smiled and said, "Of course, young man, that is only right. Then I'm sorry, you'll need to wait a bit, about 30 minutes, because my father is on his way back." After saying this, little Liang pretended to be busy, took a soccer ball, went to the backyard, and started juggling, even passing the ball hard against the wall, receiving the rebound, turning, and shooting. There was a folding gold frame in the garden. Hearing the commotion in the backyard, Neilbath knew little Liang was practicing on his own and couldn't help but go to the backyard to watch. Beautiful. Neilbath knew at a glance that little Liang had put in hard work. His footwork speed and turning speed were far better than his peers, and his movements and technique were extremely standard. What a good talent. Subsequently, Neilbath asked him to add a dribble past a pole after turning, but this pole was Neilbath himself. Young man, I will do some small scale defending. Use your brain. Do any dribbling moves you want to do. Come on. Little Liang nodded. This was an opportunity he was dying for. Soon, when the ball rebounded to little Liang, feeling the defensive pressure and intensity from Mr. Bath, he didn't choose to receive the ball but instead did a feint. The soccer ball naturally went through Mr. Bath's legs, and Liang turned and shot. Good shot, again. The second time, after little Liang received the ball, he directly did a Cruyff turn and then shot. Beautiful, again. The third time, after little Liang received the ball, he turned and faced Neilbath head on. Little Liang dropped his shoulder to the left, intending to do a la croqueta, but couldn't get past Neilbath. Neilbath smiled, crouched down, pitched little Liang's head and said, "You see, this time it was because you wanted to do the move after receiving the ball, instead of deciding before receiving it, which is why you got tackled. This is a small difference between amateur and professional. Also, before receiving the ball, you must lift your head and see your teammates' positioning clearly. There should be a map of the players on the field in your mind." Neilbath gently tapped little Liang's head. "Come on, your father should be back, let's talk." At the dinner table, Neilbath took out 2 training plans for little Liang, but he didn't start with that, but rather with the club's future plans. As everyone knows, we Chelsea have a new owner this year, Roman Abramovich. And the club's training facilities have been identified as a key area for new investment. We will build a state-of-the-art integrated facility at Cobham, which will be ready for you to use when you are 10 years old. Neilbath looked at little Liang and said, "Isn't that still 2 years away? Do you want me to wait for 2 years?" Neilbath smiled and shook his head. "That depends on our training plan for you. First is our mixed training plan. Until you are 17, we will reach a minimum of 8,500 training hours, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. We will negotiate with your school, and there will be academic studies every week. Based on our observation of you over the past few years, we will arrange for you to train in midfield and forward positions. Food, housing, and transportation will temporarily be at our Harlington training base. We will arrange your food daily according to the nutritionist's advice. As for accommodation, we will arrange a double room with butler service. Of course, you can also choose not to stay. We will have a dedicated car to pick you up and drop you off every day, and even if Mr. Lee and Mrs. Lee want to see you, I will arrange a dedicated car to pick them up. Also, you will receive a youth contract for 3 years with a salary of £550 per week. Can't I sign a contract now? Wouldn't signing now have no legal effect?" "Yes, young man, so this contract is signed with your parents first." Liang thought to himself, "Is Chelsea playing this big? They even pay my parents for my training. Can't Arsenal provide these conditions?" Lee Todd had to stand up for his own team. Neilbath smiled at Lee Todd and shook his head. "They can't. They won't make a specific training plan for little Liang, but rather a comprehensive plan like everyone else. Although their league results have been very good these years, they don't have the money." "What about the other plan?" Liang asked. "The other is a commuter training plan, continuing to go to school every day, living at home, just coming to Harlington twice a week for training. I believe you won't choose this plan." Neilbath looked at Liang and said, "Little Liang, I'll give you a small piece of advice. Take your time to consider, no need to rush. Aren't there still 3 days left? Take a look at the conditions other clubs give you, and then make your decision." Neilbath was about to leave when he suddenly remembered, "Oh, by the way, during these 3 years, you will be arranged to be a ball boy 3 times each season. You will sit on the sidelines and watch the first team's matches, feeling the atmosphere of Stamford Bridge. At the same time, we will also send tickets for Mr. and Mrs. Lee to watch the matches. As for which match, just contact me." After saying this, Neilbath really left. These conditions were really not just generally good. Problematic ad. Reported here. This reader is deprecated. Please use the intro. Quote, Windowsill of his room, 1.2%. Number 6, Chapter 6, Choices in the Future. Chapter 6, Choice and Future. On the evening of the 5th day, young Liang sat on the windowsill of his room, hugging his knees with both hands. Gazing at the star-studded night sky outside, his heart felt as deep and complex as the night sky itself. The youth training plans of 3 clubs, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Tottenham, were like 3 brilliant stars, each flashing its own light in his heart. The youth training plans of Arsenal and Tottenham also had their own unique characteristics. Arsenal focused on the deep cultivation of players' techniques and tactics, while Tottenham focused more on comprehensive development, emphasizing the balance between cultural education and football skills, and their youth academy had cultivated many excellent players. All 3 clubs had extended an olive branch to Liang, and their sincerity and recognition of Liang's potential made him feel honored. But to be honest, Tottenham was not in young Liang's consideration. As for that owner, Levy, well, let's just not say too much. Those in the know, no. But Liang couldn't refuse directly. He also had to consider the face of his grandfather and his brother-in-law. The real difficulty was Arsenal and Chelsea. His choice would affect his football career, and even his entire life. Because once he signed this contract, he would have to strive for the goal of being a professional footballer, and he would have to sacrifice a lot of time. While others could go out and play after school, he would have to train. As he grew a bit older, he would have to withstand temptations. When others were 17 or 18, drinking beer and picking up girls, he would have to train. But thinking deeper, he could skip the alcohol, but he couldn't skip the girls. So, it should be that when others were 17 or 18 and went to bars to drink, he would have to train. When others were 17 or 18 and picking up girls, he would pick up girls too. Yeah, that should be it. He needed to calm down and listen to the voice within his heart. Thinking about the sweat and laughter of the past, and then thinking about the failures and successes of the future. He thought of the promise from Neil Bath, the head of Chelsea's youth academy. That was not just a training plan, but a promise about the future. The most advanced training facilities, a professional coaching team, and that year in Cobham Training Center, everything seemed so perfect. But Lee Young knew he needed more than just these. Lee Young's father, Lee Todd, hoped he could choose Arsenal because Arsenal's youth training system was more suitable for Lee Young's technical characteristics, and they had successful experience. And his brother-in-law insisted that Tottenham's youth training system was better, so the family could support him more conveniently. His mother, Mia, always remained neutral. She knew this choice should be made by Lee Young himself. After careful consideration, Lee Young decided to give himself a one-day cooling-off period. He needed to evaluate each club's youth training plan from multiple aspects, including training quality, coaching team, club culture, and future development opportunities. Speaking of this, he wasn't sleepy anymore. The next great British star would be Rooney, followed by Harry Kane, a product of Tottenham's youth academy, but at this time, he should be at Arsenal. And it seemed the only player of the same age in Arsenal's youth academy was Alex Iwobi. Others like Hector Bellerin and Serge Gnabry were bought by Wenger and only joined Arsenal at 16. As for Chelsea, there was only Ruben Loftus-Cheek in my batch, but the next batch was not bad: Tammy Abraham, Fikayo Tomori, Dominic Solanke, and so on. On the evening of the sixth day, Lee Young lay on his bed, his mind constantly replaying the words of Neil Bath and the generous conditions offered by Chelsea. He realized that although the conditions were tempting, he could not make a choice solely based on material benefits. He needed an environment that could stimulate his potential and help him grow. In the end, Lee Young figured it out. Going to any training camp was just youth training, and it didn't necessarily mean playing for that club's first team. He still chose Chelsea. The official reason was Chelsea's youth training philosophy and future development plan, but the real reason, of course, was that they had money and provided good service. On the seventh day, young Lee Young stood in front of his whole family and announced his decision, stating his choice. A hint of disappointment was revealed in the eyes of his grandfather and brother-in-law. As for Lee Todd, he dared not reveal any information. He was, after all, sleeping next to the tigress. Mia hugged Lee Young tightly. She knew that no matter the result, she would always support her son. Lee Todd also showed a proud smile. He knew Lee Young was already a little adult, capable of taking responsibility for his own future. Just like that, Lee Young contacted Neil Bath. Neil Bath said they needed to arrange a signing ceremony in a couple of days and even sent a stylist in the afternoon to custom make a small suit for Lee Young. Isn't he just a U8 kid? Is a signing ceremony necessary? Lee Todd didn't dare to say it out loud and could only think it silently. Of course, his grandfather and brother-in-law thought the same. On the day of the signing ceremony, Neil Bath sent 2 special cars to pick up young Lee Young and his family. They originally thought they were just going to the Harlington Training Center to simply sign a contract and take a photo. Who would have thought that the destination was Stamford Bridge? As they slowly drove to the destination, young Lee Young looked out the car window at an ocean of blue slowly surging towards Stamford Bridge. Arriving at Fulham Road, the short 300 meters was stuck for 20 minutes, but they finally arrived at the parking lot under Stamford Bridge. They're here, they're here. Several reporters with long lens cameras didn't care about anything else and started snapping wildly at the car. Excuse me, let me through. A young Indian woman wearing formal work attire squeezed in front of the reporters, opened the car door, and seeing young Lee Young frowning and feeling a bit uneasy, she said, "Hello, Lee Young, welcome home." The reporters saw a kid get out of the car and realized they had shot the wrong target. But regardless of whether they were wrong or not, taking a few more photos couldn't be wrong. They didn't know where this kid came from, so they turned on their flashes and went click, click for dozens of shots. The young woman took young Lee Young to the locker room and had him change into the custom-made suit the club had prepared for him, which even had the Chelsea logo printed on it, while taking his family to the lounge next door. When young Lee Young appeared in front of his family wearing the little suit, Lee Todd and Mia both felt very proud, their eyes already moist. As for what his grandfather and brother-in-law were thinking, it was unknown. There was a TV in the lounge, broadcasting what was happening in the media room. When Lee Young saw the man on TV, his first thought was, it really is him who came, Mourinho, the special one. Perhaps others scoffed at him, but for Lee Young, who had opened his third eye, he knew the Premier League was about to change. Neil Bath came to the lounge and saw Lee Young in his little suit. Looking sharp, nervous, young man. Lee Young shook his head. Afterward, Neil Bath also shook hands and exchanged pleasantries with Lee Young's whole family, then took them to the waiting room next to the media room. Arriving at the waiting room was what really made them nervous. Because all of Chelsea's new signings were in the waiting room, waiting for the signing ceremony in a while. This also included the new Chelsea CEO hired from Manchester United in 2003, Peter Kenyon. He was chatting with the new signings. Robben, Cech, Griezmann, Carvalho, Drogba, and the team's captain, Captain John Terry, were also on site chatting with them. When they saw a family with a kid walk in, they all looked bewildered. It wasn't until Captain John Terry walked up to young Lee Young and picked him up in his arms, saying to everyone, "He is our most important signing, our Chelsea's new child, Lee Young." Then he lifted young Lee Young over his head, just like in the Lion King. And suddenly a loud "yeah" erupted in the waiting room. Captain John Terry and Peter Kenyon exchanged pleasantries and shook hands with each member of young Lee Young's family. Lee Todd, his brother-in-law, and his grandfather could only plaster fake and nervous business smiles on their faces. As each new signing reached the media room for the signing ceremony, young Lee Young became increasingly nervous. After all, it was his first time meeting the media. Media room. After Drogba signed, displayed his jersey, and shook hands with Mourinho, the media thought this grand show was finally over. But Peter Kenyon suddenly announced to the media, "The next one will be our most important signing at Chelsea. Please welcome Lee Young." The British media let out bursts of questioning sounds. "Lee Young? Who is Lee Young? We didn't receive any notification." As young Lee Young walked onto the stage wearing the little suit, displaying a small sign
Please, 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 please. Yes.
4. Chapter 7. Life in the U8s. In reality, this was an official media stunt intended to shift the media's focus away from Chelsea being merely nouveau riche or money-driven football, and instead show that the new Chelsea also values youth development. Little Leon was just a tool to divert the media's attention. An 8-year-old child didn't make much of a splash, many media outlets didn't even report the news, and nobody really cared. At 7 a.m., little Liang, having packed his bags the night before, planned to live directly at the Harlington training ground and only return home once a week, which made his mother, Mia, very reluctant to let him go. Little Liang wiped away his mother's tears. Mom, stop hugging me. It's not like we won't see each other. You can come visit me anytime, and I'll take good care of myself. Afterward, he got into the car heading to the Harlington training ground. Arriving at the Harlington training ground at 7:40, Neil Bath arranged for him to room with Ruben Loftus-Cheek. The dormitory manager, Uncle Raiden, opened the door to find Ruben Loftus-Cheek fast asleep on the bed, wearing nothing but his underwear. Get up. What time is it? Say hello to your roommate, you little sleepyhead. Uncle Raiden, do you know what privacy is? Oh, hello Lian. My name is Ruben Loftus-Cheek. You can call me Ruben or Ruben Loftus-Cheek. Heaven is truly unfair. We are both 8 years old, so why is your head taller than me? Leon thought to himself. I'll just call you Ruben Loftus-Cheek. The two shook hands. Normally, one would call him by his first name, but for the sake of clarity, all future players will be referred to by their surnames only. I hope everyone won't dwell on this issue. After Leon unpacked his luggage, Ruben Loftus-Cheek took him to the cafeteria at 8:40. Seeing Leon arrive, the nutritionist suggested he eat a slice of toast, a poached egg, and baked beans, paired with a glass of whole milk before training. Thinking about having to eat like this for the next few years, he shook his head to himself. After finishing by 9 o'clock, the real training began. The training ground shimmered under the sunlight. When Leon first stepped onto the Chelsea U8 training pitch, the crisp sound of whistles rang out. This was the call of professional football. The training here was completely different from his previous experiences. Every aspect exuded vigor and systematic structure. First, let's welcome our new lad, Lee Young. Callum ruffled little Lee Young's hair. After the welcome ceremony, training began with basic warm-ups, but even the warm-ups had strict requirements. Movements had to be precise, the rhythm had to be unified, and every breath had to be synchronized with the movements. It was no longer the relaxed running, jumping, and waist-twisting Lee Young was used to. Instead, it was a series of targeted dynamic stretches and agility drills. Following the instructions, Lee Young gradually found his rhythm, and his muscles began to memorize these precise movement patterns. In the subsequent technical training, Lee Young experienced the professional depth of Chelsea's youth academy. It was no longer just simple dribbling and shooting, but complex combinations of movements integrated with real game scenarios. From how to control the ball's accuracy while moving at high speeds, to how to maintain body balance during physical confrontations, every drill was accompanied by agility ladders, rebounders, and marker cones. Every detail was magnified and meticulously polished. Under this intensity, Lee Young made several mistakes. Remember, lads, every touch must have a purpose. Coach Callum's voice echoed over the training ground, and Lee Young felt an unprecedented atmosphere of focus. Lee Young, watch your devilish footwork. The coach's shout snapped him back to attention. He realized that in professional training, every mistake was an opportunity to learn and improve. Each training session allowed for 10 minutes of rest to hydrate and do some stretching. During small-sided group drills, Lee Young felt a bit isolated because he was relearning how to communicate with his teammates and how to read their movements and intentions. Furthermore, the physical intensity, including sliding tackles during defense, left little Lee Young looking a bit flustered. Passing, one-touch passing. Lee Young, get back to defense. Vision, Lee Young, look up. Coach Callum roared repeatedly. A good player needs to have broad vision, be able to perceive the movements across the entire pitch, and anticipate the rhythm of the game. Every passing, every run, requires countless training sessions with teammates to develop a rap.
हाँ मौसी हाँ 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 ठीक है ठीक है ठीक है मौसी
Every passing, every run, requires countless training sessions with teammates to develop a rapport that goes from vocal to silent. Football is not just a display of individual skill, but a crystallization of team intelligence. At 4 p.m., the team went to the tactical meeting room, and Lee Young began to be exposed to tactical drills. This was no longer simple attacking and defending. In addition to his own team's tactics, he also had to learn to formulate corresponding tactical strategies based on the different characteristics of the opponents. Lee Young's brain worked at high speed, absorbing this complex tactical knowledge, and his vision was greatly broadened. Lee Young sighed, one day of U8 training is much more professional than the training from my past life. Coach Callum found Lee Young. How was your first day? Can you adapt? Although Coach Callum was quite fierce on the pitch, the players all knew it was for their own good. Lee Young looked at Callum and nodded. I can adapt, it feels great. You need to learn as soon as possible how to handle the ball in tight spaces and learn how to keep the ball moving quickly, understood? I understand, coach. After training finished, Lee Young sat in the locker room. Although his body was exhausted, his spirit was exceptionally excited. As long as he accepted this kind of training day after day, he would definitely be able to become a professional player. As night fell, the clamor of the training ground gradually quieted down. Lee Young returned to the dormitory alone. Ruben Loftus-Cheek was not there because he had gone home. This was his new living space, simple yet filled with the atmosphere of football. A tactical board hung on the wall, and his football boots and training log were placed by the bed. He sat at the desk, opened his training log, and began to record his insights from today's training. He wrote down his technical movements, tactical understanding, and every piece of guidance from Coach Callum. These words recorded every bit of his growth. Leon stood up and stretched his tired body. He looked out the window. The training ground in the night appeared exceptionally tranquil, but his heart was filled with passion and anticipation. The dormitory bed was simple and comfortable. Leon lay on the bed, closed his eyes, and let his body and mind gradually relax. He didn't need the company of his family because he knew he was already strong and independent enough. Here, he would learn self-management and self-motivation, becoming a true professional player. The other young players in the dormitory area had already fallen asleep. Leon also gradually drifted into sleep. His dreams did not contain the warmth of family, but rather the passionate running on the pitch, the tacit understanding with teammates, and the cheers and joy of scoring goals. This was life in the Chelsea U8s. Every day was a challenge, and every day was growth. Problematic ad. Reported here. This reader is deprecated. Please use the intro. About us. Contact us. Quote, Chapter 8, U12 Christmas Cup. As the first ray of morning light filtered through the curtains, Leon woke from his dream. He rubbed his eyes and gazed at the world outside the window, which was gradually brightening. At 10 years old, he was already accustomed to this place, Cobham Training Center, one of the top